All right. Good morning or afternoon. It's still morning here, barely. Happy Saturday, December 9th here today. Some of the seasonal discounts that I'm going to talk about here for a second as you're joining are specific towards 2023 because you may need a little extra help. So keep an eye on my website for that, pinned at the top of the chat. Um, we started this new thing so that people wouldn't have to be live because you're super busy. We're all super busy. So I had been doing email readings and recorded readings for a long time. I dropped them down to a very affordable price. And now with seasonal discounts, they will be under $100. So that's going to be nice. But for that limited amount of time as we're going through the end of a 10-year cycle, according to the Council of Nine that we're channeling and talking to today. As always, super chats are welcome. However, it's not a guarantee that you'll get your question answers, even though I do my best. Got a little bit more time today than we typically would because it's not a Wednesday or a school day. So wonderful. Who's here today? And where are you from? Nevada. Awesome. What part of Nevada? Yeah, the notification bell. When you subscribe, it just gives you whatever it thinks is in alignment. But if you go in there and click all, as opposed to just whatever it wants, you'll be able to know when I come on live. But it's real typical of me to be live at some point on Wednesday and either Saturday or Sunday. Those are the typical days, like once during the weekend and once during the week where we can all gather together and kind of talk to any of the councils that I channel, any of my spirit guides that come in, ask them questions and talk about some of the themes that we're going through in ascension and spiritual awakening. And that's something that we do. Occasionally you'll see one of my favorite guides come in that isn't on one of the councils, like a Christ conscious being or things like that. But mostly we stick to the councils because they've been with me since birth. And they give us a lot of information and practical relevance to help us kind of get through different karma and dharma cycles. So, Lake Charles, Louisiana, I know exactly where that is. What's your name? 1111 Violet Flame. Do I know you? Seems like I know you. Yeah, I used to live out that way when my kids were babies. Pittsburgh. Karen's watching rugby. Yeah. I know where Pahrump is. I've driven through it. We've lived in many places out west. So, what part of Colorado? Springfield. I know where that is. Got a good friend there. Got a good friend there who owns a spiritual development store. Is called Mystic's Oasis. Her name is Samantha, and she is the most ethical, wonderful being. Knows her stuff. So if you're looking for a good spiritual store out in that direction, just look them up. Yeah. Ontario? Okay. Need some motivation, trying to stay positive. Okay, well, the Andromedan Council can definitely bring that in for you today. We're going to talk about some hard stuff, and then we're going to be talking about what practical things you can do to get through that hard stuff. Western Pennsylvania, yep. Hi, Maria. Nebraska. I think I may have driven through there once. Yeah. Just once. It was a long, flat drive through Nebraska and the Dakotas. All right. Well, thanks for taking some time off with me, everyone, and sharing where you're from. Yeah. We're still thinking about, as I was discussing not too long ago, doing a retreat coming up this summer out here in Michigan, where I am. like and I keep saying retreat, but it is a weekend conference. I'm not great with retreats where we spend the night, because I have kids that need a lot of attention and help. So I like to go home and, I don't like to be too far away from them. Romania, oh, that's super cool. Amherst is from Northern Indiana. All right. Coast of Maine, beautiful, Rachel. Mhm. Uh, Sonia's asking, how can we release belief systems that no longer serve us? I was thinking about that and bringing that to the council's attention, the Andromedan councils who we're talking to and channeling today. Um, I talked to a bunch of different councils, but you'll notice that there are a few that I just really enjoyed talking to. And then the Andromedan councils up there, in psychic mediumship, I like to listen to them and see what they have to say because they understand a lot. Just like the Council of Nine, they understand what we're going through and why it's hard to get through the ending of karmic cycles. So, in terms of releasing belief systems that no longer serve us, we've got to determine how much we know about what serves us. So, what they're saying about that is, do you know yourself? Do you know what's serving? Are we attempting to remove something that is actually karmically still serving us, but yet it's painful and we're just done with the pain? There's a bit of a difference. Do you see what they mean by that? Right? So in terms of releasing ancestral trauma and wounds, this is a big one. If you take a look at the thumbnail that Anya picked out for this one, it was like this profile of human face, and inside of it, when I was looking at it, I could see these ancient cavernous systems where people, our ancestors, used to live a long time ago. And one of them came out and said, "Oh, you thought it was so easy to live in the time of the ancestors, to live in our times, right?" And it's very, very interesting because we look back and we're all attempting to understand the ancient way, but the ancient way had significant struggle. Some people think, well, I just want to go live off the land and not have a mortgage and not have to be responsible for car payments and house payments and rent and all of these things. Yet, if you were really on the land, would you be able to kill an animal and eat it? If not, where would you get your protein? If you were really on the land, would you be able to farm? And they did not use the type of farming systems that we use because they were nomadic. So could you stay long enough to plant, tend to gardens, and harvest? Would you have sustainable irrigation systems? Going back in those times, would we really even know what to do? As we come out of this very painful 10-year cycle, and I'm going to call it the drama trauma cycle because that's what the Andromedans are calling it today. What we're doing is forgetting that we actually have it way easier than our ancestors ever did. Yet we're still holding on to a fight, flight, freeze, fawn response that's bigger than it ever was for them. So that's something that we could all stand to really consider because as we step into the winter solstice portal, which opens on the 21st, now we've got those energies that we are having some time to release. Beginning on 12/12, we're going to be releasing heavy ancestral trauma and ancestral wounds. And I will go ahead and tell you the specific ones here in a moment that we will be releasing together, collectively and individually. But it would help us to prepare and to keep talking about this as we approach this, because this is a very unique, powerful winter solstice. And it's one of the most powerful, unique solstices that I've seen in 10 years because this is the 10th year of the cycle. And this is when we begin a new dharmic cycle. This is what we tend to do. We operate in karma for 10 years. And then according to the Andromedan Council, then we operate in dharma for 10 years, or we make an attempt. If we haven't made an attempt to reconcile ancestral trauma and wounds over these past 10 years, particularly at the end of each year during the solstice, those are times when it's harder, right? That's why the holidays are always harder, because astrologically speaking, that solstice portal is forcing the release, and it's us who are still hanging on to the pain. It's us who still want the same old ways. And we can't want those same old ways while also creating a new dharmic cycle. It just won't work. Those ways will be painful, and the things that we've been trying to do the same ways for 10 years, this is not working anymore. So 2024 begins a new 10-year cycle of dharmic potential. It's a dharma 10-year cycle, a dharmic cycle. And we don't want to carry this karmic stuff from the last 10 years of karmic cycling from our ancestors with us into the new year and into that 10-year cycle, because then we can't access appreciation and gratitude, or we can't even see what's good about the Dharma, because we're so used to being afraid of trauma and the karma that we created for the past 10 years together. Okay. Does that make sense what they're saying? So here are some of the ancestral wounds we could stand to release that are holding us back collectively and individually. The first one is shame. I want to talk about how shame is affecting you. Get real personal. Let's, for the next, I'd say 10 minutes, let's talk together, for those of you who are alive, and you can put in the comments as well later. How addicted are we to shame? Okay. To shame. How does that show up? So I'm going to pull some cards, because that gives us some visuals as well. 1 second. Let me turn off my phone because I had forgotten about it. Anybody want to talk about how you're holding on to shame, particularly as a coping mechanism or a defense mechanism? Do you think that you have a reason to feel ashamed, that you'll get better if you don't feel ashamed? You'll get better if you feel shame, if you feel guilt, that maybe you'll make changes. These are some of the ways that we're holding on to it. So I'm going to pull a karmic spread on shame and how it's affecting the collective right now, and see what the council has to say about this theme. And I want you to talk to me, if you're live with me today, about how shame is holding you back. It's important to, the first decree of the mysteries is know thyself, right? I'll explain the 1212 portal next week. It's more of a release portal, again, of how we repeat things. So that's a little bit of a heads up. But the portal next week for 1212 is like, go forward, and then go back and go forward again. So it's the way that we're using specific pain cycles to go forward, back, 1, 2, 1, 2. It's a little bit about what that's about. So right now, the way that people have been using shame for healing is that when they're ashamed, they open up and they become more vulnerable. But then if people don't approve of it, if they don't understand it, if they don't validate it and say you have a right to feel that way, then we get angry and volatile when we feel misunderstood and judged, right? So that's one of the ways that we kind of need to look at shame, and just kind of be aware of what we're doing when it comes to shame, okay? Yeah. So what we can do is bring our focus into the bigger picture. Just ask your soul that. Ask your higher self that. May my focus be on the bigger picture of life itself, not just my life. May my focus be on the bigger picture of life itself. May my mission be not just to understand my own mission, but how does my mission fit into life itself? When you have a feeling of shame, how does that even fit into the bigger picture of life itself? You're going to find out why, or you're going to release, one or the other. If it fits in, it's still karmically serving as we end this portal. But sometimes the council is saying it just doesn't fit in. And then we have to be aware of what we need to release, because it's just the same things that we were doing aren't really working anymore. So we're going into a bigger space of creativity as we come out of this portal. And what many people are doing is saying, okay, shame is actually giving me an opportunity to speak my truth. The only way to heal shame is to become ashamed. As we go through this portal, it's not about trying not to feel ashamed and telling yourself you have no reason to be ashamed. It's about saying, okay, well, how has this creatively served me? And how can I now operate in my own truth? If you're ashamed, you've been holding back your truth. You've been holding back your focus on the bigger picture and how you fit in to the process of life itself. Does that make sense what they're saying there, guys? Okay, Ash is saying, I notice how I dim my light and fire because I fear it will burn others. Yeah, that's something that's really, really common, like not knowing how other people are going to be able to handle your power. And particularly over the past 10 years, the divine feminine in particular has had terrible experiences with people not being able to handle your power. And it's easier for them to come back and say some nasty things or act weird or whatever it is they're doing to kind of to express that they're dissatisfied with how brightly your light is shining, right? So they will say something to push your power back, to dim your light, and you don't want that, right? So what if they do? What if they do something or say something that makes you feel like your light is dimmed? That's theirs to hold. That's their opinion to own, and it does not have to become toxic to the divine feminine, right? Divine feminine can work together. It doesn't have to become toxic when someone's threatened by you. It's something within themselves, and at a deeper level, they know that. So what you do is continue shining your light. You're not going to dim it. You're not going to be different because someone else can't handle something, right? That may hurt, but you cannot hold back your light. That's a big theme this month, and I'm glad that you brought that up for us, Ash. Okay. Yeah, shame, not feeling good enough with everything I do. Right, but the council says on that one, what is enough though? It might be good to ask yourself and give an honest, authentic assessment of what would be enough. Because typically speaking, we don't even know. That's how we know that one's a false belief. So as we head into the full moon and then the new moon of the solstice, we can go ahead and release the not feeling good enough because we don't even know what enough is. We spent 10 years trying to build it and it still never is enough, right? I'm just reading what some of you are saying in the chat. Let's see. Old forgotten shame, guilt making its way into my now. Thought I dealt with it, but apparently not. Right. Right. But it's not something that can be dealt with. It's something that we allow ourselves to feel and heal because we can't heal it without feeling it. Yeah. How about if you're around a person who tries to shame you, like a family member? But it's toxic, so it sometimes still comes in. Yeah. So for that one, the question is why? Why are we around the person that says the toxic stuff? That's question number one is we need to make practical assessments about who gets to be around us, taking either temporary, long-term, temporary, short-term, long-term, or permanent breaks from someone who continues to do that. So in this way, you are created good. You are created beautiful. You are created with an illuminating, powerful light. You are created holy. Say that every time someone shames you. I am created from the beautiful, illuminating light of God. So here's also what they're saying. Say that whenever you're feeling that way and someone's trying to say that inside of your mind. Keep saying it like it's a mantra, right? Because this has to be programmed. The wounds are so strong, particularly in the divine feminine right now, that we need to say that again and again and again. Does God make mistakes? No, God only creates the beautiful, the holy, the good, right? Yeah. Don't forget that. And that'll help heal this. Mm. Are addictions gonna be easier to release? No, the addictions hang on so hard, right? That doesn't become easier right now. We need to kind of really look at addictions as we head into the solstice. Now is the time to face it, right? I'm just reading. Yeah. Oh, gaslighting family. Right, but also it gives you that opportunity to put a truth out there and then put your shield up. Put a truth out there and then put your shield up. We've been talking a lot about Christ conscious breath practices. Alchemy of the Heart gave a lot of that. If you went to that class on Patreon last week, you might want to check it out because it was incredibly helpful for releasing shame. And we gave practical psychic energy hygiene. Heart Alchemy with Yeshua was the name of the class, and it was techniques from Yeshua that he's taught me for a very long time. You'll even see me when I'm trying to do scary things when I'm out on the ice. I might stop and touch my heart and do some breathing. You know, someone says something to me that I don't like, I might walk away and do the same thing, right? So, yeah. Um, okay. Oh, that's so sad. I was just reading what you were saying about that, Amanda. I'm so sorry that happened. Yeah, and it's we're never gonna be responsible for what someone says or what someone believes about what someone says. So that's like more of the drama trauma cycle as we go into the second thing that the Andromeda Council wanted to bring to your attention today, addictions to the trauma cycle. Other people are gonna still have that, but it's your job to not have it. So I'm gonna read this one. She said, "I had a girl that left where I work, and on the last day she went and told my boss that I was a really horrible person. I then lost my job. And it hurt more that she said bad things, and then it hurt more less that she said bad things, but more about my boss believing it." Right, so I am not responsible for the pain of other people's beliefs. I am not responsible. I release accountability. I can only respond as God would. That's what responsible means. You're a responsible being. You can only respond as God does, as Source would. So to be accountable is different. When you say I release accountability towards what other people believe, that removes a karmic energetic prison that most people have been holding for the past 10 years in this drama trauma cycle of karma. All right? So try to work with that one, that invocation that they're giving you, and that should start to settle in your energy field. Does that make sense? Yeah. Why are we so ashamed about being our true self? The council says, okay, so, and they've said this many times, many councils love this analogy. If you're sane and you walk into an insane asylum, which is what the majority of Earth is, duality is insane. And I don't mean crazy. I mean, it's just not sane. It's just not in the same path of oneness where heaven is. So, in that sense, duality isn't heaven, right? This earth isn't heaven. So, it's not same to those who are in heaven. Heaven is fifth dimensional. It's not a place, it is an energy field. That's what heaven is. You can create all sorts of beliefs about that. You can even have near death experience and create a whole land that you believe is heavenly, and anything would be heavenly according to these lands here in these dualistic environments and these drama trauma cycles, right? However, heaven is an interesting place. So if you're sane and you live in the fifth dimension of the energy of heaven itself, and then you walk into hell where insanity is, what do you think they're going to say to you? They're going to say you're insane. They're trying to make you feel bad about being sane. All of that's going to happen, right? And that's the point of expansion and growth karmically. Yeah. So that's something to keep an awareness about. Just keep an awareness of truth as you go through and release these energies as we head into the solstice together. Okay. But today I really wanted to bring the council to you and talk together and bring you kind of field your questions to them because today's a little dark. Like typically I'll get up and I'll try to go do some exercise or go do my off ice stuff or go outside. I haven't even been outside yet today. I'm like, wow, man. It's like a heaviness as we go into the solstice and as we head to the 1212 portal, which is the beginning of what we need to release before we even hit the solstice portal. So it's a little dark, it's a little heavy. And the weather is showing it, like everything around is kind of like we can't see the sun right now. And that's the metaphor that they bring to you. Is hard to see the power of Christed consciousness. It's hard to see your own power right now. So be mindful, gentle, and compassionate during these times as you're going through that. Okay. Yeah. So the drama trauma, addictions to the drama trauma cycle. How is that landing for you right now as we open up this cycle of push, pull, forwards, back of 1212 that we're heading into this particular portal? It's like, oh, let me go forward and feel good about it, but then look at all the things that are still there and be mad that those things are still there. It's pretty much the synopsis of the 1212 portal. The drama trauma cycle is like, let me get tempted to be pulled back into the same old shame from other people and from myself, the same old lack of self-love, the same old addictions and temptations, the same old pull into the drama and trauma and karma and pain of the past. It's very tempting. That is the drama trauma cycle. It's like I will create a drama of still being in trauma because that's what worked in the past, and people will leave me alone. If I'm hurting, people don't stab me in the back. If my back is bleeding, people won't stab it. It's how the council gives me that image to look at. If I'm weak, people won't attack me. If I dim my light, people's eyes don't get burned. So one of you gave that example of feeling like you had to dim your light or otherwise it would actually burn people, right? Are you feeling a little bit of that? Because sometimes you may think it would be easier to go back to that, even like the addiction to gossip, because you would fit in. If people were gossiping and they were talking about someone, if you agreed with them and listened, then you would fit in, and then therefore you would be immune from being gossiped about, which it never works that way. If they're gossiping and you get to listen, next time it's about you. You know that. You know how that goes, right? Um, Yeah, it is like a compliment for the Ho'oponopono, that um, exercise. So I'll repeat the exercise because Rachel just put it in chat. I release accountability for what others think about me. It's like just saying, okay, that's theirs. It's not right. It's not wrong. I'm just not going to look at it because it's their drama trauma cycle. So it's over there with them. That's it. That's it. It's theirs. It's opinions. Everyone has a right to have them. Right? Yeah. Let's see. This person says family drama is the hardest type for me to release. You want to elaborate upon it? You can. Hmm. I hear what you're saying, but here's what the council has to say about that one, Gay. She said, yeah, for the past several days, it's been heavy, and I'm retreating into prayer in a positive environment with positive people. The practicality of that isn't always possible. You know what I mean? So we get to become that which we are trying to receive, is what they're saying. So in that case, as opposed to getting sucked in to that karma, to that toxic energy that's so tempting to go back into, because that's how we dealt with it in the past, is just by allowing it to be there, as opposed to doing that, we can just say, wow, I become what I need. I am wholly beautiful. I am as Source created me. Source only creates the beautiful, illuminating light of its children, its sons and daughters. And that is I, right? So that's something to be mindful of. You get to be that which you want, that which you need in that moment. And your guides can hold that space for that lotus flower just opening up so that the solstice isn't as painful, so that portal isn't as because there is a energy coming through. Not so much is as a frustration energy coming through as we head towards the next 12-12 portal. I'll be there for you for the 12-12 portal as well. And we'll talk about it. But right now it's important that we release the drama trauma cycles, however that works. Right. And others can have hurtful opinions. It's their opinions. When we can retract their opinions from whether or not they love us, whether or not they support us, people can love you but not know how to divinely love someone. They love you in the very limited capacity that they have. You understand what they're saying there? People can love you but still have a hurtful opinion about you because their drama trauma cycle and their karma is so strong that they've misinterpreted your light. Forgive them, for they know not what they do, is what my spirit guide Jesus would say. Right? Forgive them, for they know not what they do. That's their way of protecting themselves, is to have a hurtful opinion about you. That's their way of protection, because then they don't have to change. Right? It's a tough one to forgive, but it is their stuff, and we just put it over here and forgive it. Right? Because it's not on you. It's not about you. People see you through the lens of how they see themselves. Right? So that's a big one, because it hurts to be misunderstood. It hurts to not be interpreted correctly. It hurts to be judged. Right? It hurts. And that doesn't take that pain. When we say forgive them and the council comes through and gives us that message, it doesn't mean that we understand it. It doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean they get to continue to cause pain and that we're going to let them. Doesn't mean any of that. And it's okay to be deeply wounded by that judgment and that pain, and to sit with that during this solstice and just say, wow, man, whew, that one hurts. So as opposed to trying to not hurt, to be different than how I feel, I'm going to be the compassion that I need right now, that I'm not getting from them, that I'm not getting from anybody else. And I invite all of my ancestors to become a sacred witness for my pain. I'm not going to ask them that I feel peace, that I feel differently. I need a sacred witness. Have you ever asked your ancestors to become a sacred witness for your pain? Draw a holy golden circle all the way around you. Cast that golden circle, moving clockwise, right? Moving clockwise. Call in your ancestors from the north, call in your ancestors from the south, the east, and then the west. Call in the four mighty archangels from the four corners, four directions, right? You don't have to know who they are, know their names to do this. They know who they are. Your ancestors know which one of them need to come and from which lifetime. Let's not make this heady. Okay, we don't need to get in our heads about this. Call in the ancestors and ask them to hold a sacred space for this pain. They know, because they've been there. They've been there. The right ones will come. Okay. Barbara says, what I've been working on is people telling me what I see in my reality is wrong, instead of we're just seeing each other differently. Right. And I love that in nonviolent communication, which I love. I'm not good at it, but I'd love to become better at it as we head into the new year. I'm a Lilith person. I just speak it as I feel it, and that sometimes hurts people. So that's kind of what I'm releasing personally as we head into the new year. So one of the things I love about nonviolent communication is just the capacity to say, thank you for sharing that with me. I think that we see something differently. My opinion is different than that. I think that you remember something differently. We remember something differently. You remember differently than I remember. That's okay just to point that out, as opposed to someone coming at you with their opinion, with their pain, And I'm sure they don't mean to. It's not always they're meaning to attack you, but people are slapping each other with their pain because they're feeling that their needs aren't getting met. So instead of backing up and meeting their own needs, they're just slapping each other with the wet noodles of their pain and hoping it lands. It's like spaghetti noodles on a wall. What's going to slide down? What's going to stick? So people don't know how to love each other. So instead, they are slapping the noodle on the wall on each other's energy shields. That's the image that the council is giving me, right? So instead of that, we can just say, well, I think that we really are different. We have different belief systems. We remember things differently, and that's okay. That gets to be okay, right? You can stop when you feel attacked by someone's pain. Stop them in the middle of it and just say, "Can I take a moment? I hear you, but can I take a moment just to say this? I think that we're remembering something differently. And I think it's okay. It's okay that we're different. And we can still love each other." Right. Is there such thing for being too nice when people think you're fake? Yeah, the council talked to me about this one when people were going around calling positivity toxic positivity. And it's a deep misunderstanding, especially if you're not attempting to be toxic, right? It's you're not attempting to be toxic. You're just being yourself. And your way of being is generally positive. But the deepest thing that we can do is to be able to merge into someone's pain and not lose that positivity. Now, if people misunderstand that, they're going to judge you as being toxic positive, with the toxic positivity, right? So, toxic positivity, an example of that would be, "Oh, you just need to get better. Oh, you just need to do this." And people start offering unsolicited advice about how if you just saw things more positively, one of the things I put this on all over social media not too long ago, and it offended all of you, so I took it off. I don't really want to walk around offending you, but my nature seems to offend people these days with the Lilith essence. But I put a quote from this guy. Who was it? He said, "Do you guys remember the quote?" He said, "You have a choice every day to be happy or to be miserable." That was the quote. I don't remember who said it. I just remember it was somebody back in the 50s, and then it became like this whole, oh, it was in books everywhere. "Oh, we have a choice." Well, would you tell that to someone who's just been raped? Would you tell that to someone who just got into a car accident? I hope you wouldn't. Would you tell that to someone who just lost their child or the love of their life? You have a choice. You can just choose to be happy right now, despite the fact that everything you loved has just been ripped away. Would you? You wouldn't. You wouldn't. So that's just something to be aware of, that is an example of toxic positivity. So there's a lot of toxic positivity going around, which is why I put that post up. Right. All emotions are valid, but emotions have their place. Emotions have their place. All emotions are valid, but I'm not sure that someone's really coming from a particular place of positivity when they're asking someone else to feel differently than they actually feel. So it's valid, but is it in the right place and time of that? Probably not. Probably not. And we could go on this wild goose chase of determining what's authentic to say and when we should hold back and when we shouldn't. When instead the council says we can just ask for not what is true. True is sometimes painful and people aren't ready. Not what is kind. Sometimes people need a tough love, but what is compassion? How can we be a compassionate, sacred witness for someone in all moments of their pain? That is what we could be asking ourselves. How can we do that and be in our truth and be authentic? Right? Versus trying to think about like if it's positive or negative or if it's helpful or harmful. Just how can we be compassionate and hold a sacred space? How can we be a compassionate, sacred witness is what the Andromedan Council is asking us to ask ourselves during these moments where we just really don't know what the right thing to say is. Right. So Yeah. Um, so let's talk about this next one. Addiction to validation and approval as an experience, as a means of evidencing the I am. Say that again. That was a long mouthful. Addiction to validation and approval as a means of evidencing the I am. So we confuse that. And when the know thyself principle isn't quite there yet in our mystical initiations and awakening, we look for validation and approval, right? So we can't necessarily evidence the I am through anything that anyone else does. It just begins to evidence itself because of how we feel. We begin to feel it and see it everywhere, even when people aren't necessarily being validating, even when they aren't necessarily approving, we still feel that light shining no matter what people are doing, no matter what. Now, could they respond to that and react to that? Yes, they could. And then you would see it, but it starts with us. So validation and approval doesn't work because we could get some validation and approval to evidence that we feel we're on track. And then what are you going to do when the lesson gets harder? It's like when you master something, then you get something more masterful to deal with in your life. The next karmic cycle will be harder because you mastered the prior thing or for whatever that was for you, right? And then, but people have this really deep misunderstanding and misinterpretation. This deep misperception about spirituality, meaning if everything is perfect in here, so will everything out here. And that was about 20 years ago. I've been channeling for 24 years, teaching for 20 years. What I've seen in these 2.5 cycles, karmic cycles, is that is an old, outdated paradigm. It doesn't work. It's just not always the case. It may work for some people, but collectively speaking, we just aren't there anymore. So what's happening now is we master something, and then the world out here may reflect that temporarily, and then shit gets harder. It does. It gets harder. It gets harder because you need to become more masterful. Do you see how that works on Earth? We master something, and then we want more mastery. And that's how that works. So what you see out here will initially reflect and you'll feel good, and then it will shift and get harder. And then what you see is harder. What you see in the world is harder. That means you're mastering something, right? And that's interesting. It's still a reflection, but the reflection doesn't always look the same. It's like we are brought what we need to expand deeper and invite in more dharma. The more we release that karma, the more we invite in a powerful dharma. But we have to release more painful things first, because karma and dharma don't really work together in the same cycle. That's why we have typically 10 years of karma, 10 years of dharma, right? Typically. All right. So the next one, addiction to the cycle of time, birth, death, and celebrations of pain. That's how they listed this one that we want to talk about. Does everybody know what that means? So when I was in my 20s and not really understanding my dark night of the soul, I went to a psychiatrist, and this is how it just works with me. I walked in and I'm like, I hope the psychiatrist doesn't say that I'm crazy because I see angels and hear dead people. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I walk in, and he's got a massive amethyst at the bottom right corner of his office, and he's got like chrysocolla and crystals all over his desk. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'm good. Maybe I'm good. Got a little drum on the other side of his office and a pool table right in the center. Like, yeah, maybe I'm good. This is how it works in like attracting what we are, right? And so do you see things? Do you hear things? I'm like, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Out the other eye looking at him. He's writing stuff down. I'm like, okay, this is where he's writing down that I'm crazy. I writing down what meds to give me, He's like, so how long you been doing that? I'm like, since age 5. Oh, and he just stopped writing. I said, so I got to ask, do you think they say if you see things and hear things, my family wants me to get checked out. I don't think I'm crazy. I feel functional. So he spent the rest of the hour and he said, I just You're depressed, but so is everyone. So, do you want meds? I'll give them to you, but this you know what to do to work it out, you know? I don't really wanna give you a diagnosis. I want you to understand that you are who you are. You've been doing that in a healthy, functional way since age 5. It works for you. This is not something out of the blue, right? So in this way, we kept going, and he said, "What's the one thing that gets to you?" And I said, "Every year around this time, I just miss my dad because I didn't properly grieve it, and I just miss my dad. March the 11th, every year, I just miss him." He said, "Oh, you're addicted to death cycles." And I was offended. How dare you? Right? As a typical 21, 20 something year old person would be. 29, I think I was. I don't remember. Anyway, he said, "Yeah, yeah, this can really happen." I said, "Are you serious? Is this a real thing? You can be addicted to a birth and death cycle?" He said, "Uh-huh, it's very real." Right? So are you addicted to the birthday of people that you lost? And you're gonna be, like, only celebrating on those times or deeply celebrating on those times? Are you addicted to being sad around the time of the year that you lost someone? I was. And then you celebrate it and you're like, "Oh, we have to celebrate this pain over and over and over again." Right? That's because you haven't grieved it. Not to be that that celebration is wrong or bad, it's just you haven't grieved it. So it's time to let the grief out, to really experience it fully. And some of you are like, "Well, I got jobs, I got kids, I got this to do, and I got that to do." Okay, right. But then you don't move fully into your true nature next year as we go into the dharmic cycle. It'll be there for you, but you won't be appreciative or grateful for it or be able to, it's right in front of you, but you don't feel gratitude for it because you haven't processed grief. So in this way, addictions to the cycle of time comes in, right? So it's really, really important to do something different on those dates that you lost someone, on birth dates and death dates. Instead of celebrating with pain, can we try putting some balloons out and celebrating with joy? Can we celebrate and remember happy memories? Does that really happen for you that on their birthday do you really, really remember happy memories? Or are you sitting there by their deathbed crying all over again as if it's rehappening? That means we need to grieve and try to create a celebration of a positive, powerful memory, right? A positive memory of that person on their death dates and birth dates and marriage dates and all the things, right? And when that powerful memory acclimates, it also helps us become more grateful for what we experienced and it helps us heal our grief. So do all your grieving now. Do all your grieving now because if you head into next year and you're still celebrating birth and death cycles with pain and grief, then you don't appreciate the dharma of what's right out in front of you. Don't appreciate that. Have you ever done that? How can we explain that? Like, you know how when you're depressed and then something good happens and you would typically be like, wow, a big thing happened, but you're like, yeah, hmm yeah. You couldn't even win the lottery and celebrate it during that grief, right? You'd be like, yeah, it's about time some damn good thing happened, wouldn't you? Have you ever done that before? That's grief steals joy. It takes it and it just yanks it out of you and takes it from you. And then you can't become grateful or appreciative in ways that you normally would. This is how depression is holding on to us as a collective right now that we need to be really aware of as we go into the 12-12 portal next week. All these powerful, positive things right out in front of us, right? All these powerful, positive things, all these different ways that we're supported, but we're not able to even verbalize that we're grateful, right? Because grief has us held back somewhere. So, where is grief holding you back? Where is grief holding you back, right? Where is it preventing you and robbing you of your joy, stealing your joy from you? Might be something to look at, particularly as we head into the 12-12 portal. Right as I said that, all the clouds stopped and the sun's coming in. Look, it's just like brightening up the room. Yay, I love it. All right. Okay. And then the final thing they wanted to talk about, and then we can talk about, and you can ask questions. I'll field your questions to the council at that point. We can pull some cards if you want as well. But the final thing we want to talk about prior to then is the addiction to divine feminine toxicity as a means of coping and protecting ourselves from toxic masculine energies. Right? Now, what I'm noticing is that we're doing a lot of crying and grieving, and that's fine. That's where we need to be. But then we become super vulnerable, super soft, dimming our light, softening, over feminizing ourselves, right? And basically saying, you know what? I'm a victim and I'm going to stay in the victim cycle as a means of protecting myself from toxic masculine because no one attacks a weak person. You are not a weak person. Know that, right? Does everyone understand this? Divine feminine is powerful and strong, full of the grace of fortitude. You are not a victim, and you do not need to step into victimhood as a means of coping and protecting yourselves. All right. All right. Now's your time. Let's see how we're doing on time. We've been at it a little while, so we'll continue a little while longer. Now I'm going to field your questions to them. If you're leaving, before you leave, if you don't want a reading and you need to go, or if you missed the opportunity to get a reading as we go further right now, we do have seasonal discounts going on. So keep an eye on the website. Those seasonal discounts begin on Monday. And then you'll notice that all the readings, not just the 10 minutes, are deeply discounted throughout the 2023 holiday season, and not just for patrons, but for everybody. So pay attention to my website to get that discounted reading. There's one there that's even going to be under $100. So keep in mind that if you want a longer one than what you get here on the channel, now's a good time because it'll be over at some point when we run into January. Okay. Let me change the screen so that I can now see your questions significantly more. Can you tell us the best way to stop attracting narcissists? They said you attracted people who attract narcissists do so for reasons of wanting protection and feeling that they are not strong enough, smart enough, powerful enough to care for themselves. Lack of self-worth. The good news is people are starting to recognize that not only can they do things for themselves, Divine Feminine is starting to recognize as we go past the solstice and into this powerful new year that not only can we do things for ourselves, but sometimes it feels better that way, right? And in order to corroborate that, we pull some cards. Holding back your truth, when you get the air chalice card coming through in the reverse positioning, that means holding back your truth can be a problem. That attracts narcissists because you don't believe your truth is good enough, smart enough, powerful enough, accurate enough, etc. Holding back your femininity and your feminine power is a way to attract a narcissist. Fully loving yourself and believing in yourself is the way to no longer attract them or to lose their interest. Okay. Let's see. I just dropped my cards all over the place. Give me a moment. Okay. Just dropped them all over the place. Okay, let me put them back. Can I get a message from the council? You are seeking peace. No one who seeks true peace can fail to find it. Remember that. Thanks for the super chat. Haniel says, what should I focus on in 2024? I am hearing the pursuit of vibrational medicine with sound I'm pulling a soul contracts card for you as well for 2024. 2023 was an initiation of pain and divine discontent. It was a hard year. 2024, we move into healing and sound. That's what Angel Rosbar represents. And it is an enlightenment path. But what you should focus on right now in the solstice is removal of and healing of criticism, resentment, bitterness, and anger. Okay. Illy, thanks for the super chat. She says, my house is still not livable. Hopefully by January I can move. Toxicity at mom's house is unbearable. We don't talk, and today she tried to shame, guilt trip me and is rushing me to leave. It's almost finish line. How to manage until then. Okay. You remember earlier when they said, forgive them for they know not what they do? Forgiveness is a little harder when it's right in your face. That's what they're saying. It's not as easy when you got to go into the kitchen and cook a meal and like they're right there. Like your narcissist is right there, right? So there are dormant aspects of you that are coming out as we head into 2024, but you are avoiding your own wisdom. And you kind of hold it back a lot for fear that there will be toxicity again and fighting and arguing and drama. Stop holding back your wisdom. Even if a fight breaks out, just stop holding back your wisdom, because if a fight does break out, that'll give you space to go to another area of the house and you get a break from the pain, right? That's what they said. What do you mean by attachments? Someone is asking in the next question, do I have attachments? What? Because if you ask the question, like everybody has an attachment. So you have a fear of being physically ill or being permanently disabled or physically ill. Confirm if that's right for you. Let's see here. So in that attachment, it's like you don't trust your mind or your body, whatever is applicable here in the illness. You don't trust them that it's going to get better. You have the blessings to trust and go into a stillness right now. Ask the stone people, the ancient ones, to be vigilant in reminding you of your body's true divine nature. Here's your invocation. I invoke the grace of fortitude to remind me of good health. That will help. Thank you for the super chat, Amanda. What do I need to focus on for my own personal healing? I think I'm going to use a dragon card. I'm also listening to what they have to say here. They said the grace that we would advise you to work on is forgiveness and compassion, but towards yourself, self-compassion. When you look upon the world, everything that you look upon speaks of how you trust God or you don't. You trust Source to work this out and manifest your life, or you don't. What if in this way extreme loss has kept you focused on the unholy and its return? Work on that. Jenny, thank you for the super chat. She says, I'd love a message on how I can open my spiritual gifts and move into serving in, I don't know what you mean by accounts or dance with my purpose. What do you mean by that? Are you here with us? I think maybe that's a typo of some kind. Okay. Insofar as how to open the spiritual gifts, I'll tell you like I tell everybody, stop thinking of them as external. Very few people in the world are clairvoyant or clairaudient, yet everybody still wants to be. Claircognizance, telepathy, downloads of knowingness, the intuition of the soul is highly underrated, right? So you're a healer. You're a vibrational healer. The consciousness of that is still submerged because you're not practicing it and allowing trust with it. And it's time to live a more ceremonial life. It's time to go into ritual. That's how you open your gifts. As we head into the new year, create a new year ritual, calling in your ancestors from the north, south, east, and west, and asking them to show you what they need to show you about your gifts of healing, particularly with vibration and sound. Okay, cute little lamb. Oh, what a nice name. How can I love a message regarding healing current heartbreak, both current and ancestral. Erica. Okay. Let's look at soul contracts here. You were here to be a way shower. However, your life has not been set up to accommodate that. Divine Mother is helping you now. So when it comes to that, with your current heartbreak, which is this, it held back this, being with that person or being around that person, whatever's breaking your heart in relation to soul family, this here, was actually holding back this. Like being around them held you back from becoming a way shower. You would have to hold back massive portions of your consciousness, and you would not have been able to expand into your full mastery. And sometimes that hurts and takes some time to grieve, right? All right. Thank you, Prisma Crystalla, for the super chat. She says, what's my direction in romantic love? Completing 2023 and entering 2024. I'm tentative about what sacred action towards it. And if now is a good time at all, even. Okay. They said, here is your invocation. Every day, every hour, every instant, in this moment, I choose what I want love to look like now. Do you want me to repeat that? Every day, every hour, every instant, every moment, I choose what I want love to look like now. I see love in what? Stop. They're going to redo that. There is love in what I see. Now turn around and identify 5 things you see. There is love in what I hear. Then turn around and identify 5 things you hear. There is love even in what I feel. I say even because you don't always believe that. Identify how you feel. 5 different ways that you've been feeling if you can, but 1 is fine if you can't. Everything is love. Everything witnesses what I want to be love for me now. This is yours, and anyone who aligns, this is your love manifestation as you head into 2023. Okay? This will help. And it's because, and I've been getting a lot of these questions, is it time to manifest love? Is it time to manifest love? Solstice isn't a time to manifest love. Solstice is a time to release all the pain that you've had that's held you back from love, all the ways that you've been tentative about inviting it in, all the fears that you have about it. Solstice is a time to release that which blocks your way from viewing the love that's currently there around you and within you. Right. Tina, let's see. Where did that go? It just like left. There it is. Are there any messages from the council? And thank you for the super chat. I recently lost some of my hearing in my left ear. I didn't want to hear any more evil. That's what I'm hearing from your higher self. I did not want to hear the evil of the world anymore. I wanted a break from it. Council says it'll come back slowly, though, not altogether. It's a bit of a protection block is what you physically did to yourself there. And the body just kind of don't want to hear this anymore. Don't want to hear anymore of pain around me and people saying things and the world saying things. It was confusing. It made me vulnerable. I wanted to focus on nurturing my own passions and my own truths. Right. That's what happened. Now, granted, I'm not a doctor, not licensed to treat, offer any cures or diagnoses. Always ask your doctor before me. That's because that's what YouTube makes me say. Otherwise, they will not show or view. No one will see the channel. They'll just shadow ban me, which I'm kind of used to by now. But anyway, let's see who's next. Aurelia codes. I would love to hear something I need to know right now with my living purpose, my living soul purpose, service, health, and gaining my independence. You remember the message where you hear when the council said seeking outside validation and approval for the I am? You come to this world and you're mastered enough to be here, but it's not your, they said it's not your rodeo because the world views independence as whether or not you make money with your abilities and gifts. And that's been something that seems insane to you. When you are afraid, the presence of that fear is a sure sign that you're beginning to trust in your strength to manifest this independence. It was a good thing that you began to no longer attach independence with whether or not you could support yourself financially. Now you are stepping into the sacred convergence. The Blood Angel card represents the second thing they have to say, that it's okay that one thing is not like the other. It's okay that this world seems paradoxical. It's okay that irony is everywhere. It's okay that you can be self-supportive in other ways. It's not that fear shouldn't be there. This is another message I'm hearing from them. Fear is a sign of presence and strength. Fear should not be transmuted or integrated or removed. Fear is just there. And in the moment of breath, it will release just as quickly as it came when you give it permission to just simply be there, to move through it, to breathe through it, to sound through it. Okay, am I supposed to continue working with young people? If so, how am I best served? From Maria, and thank you for the super chat as well. So when Divine Mother first made this offering to you, it was so powerful and it was so present. But now, you see this? I'm going to move this one closer. It says the dissolving light. And like you see everything about that kind of dissolving and bringing into a clarity. So Divine Mercy is taking you into an exit point now. And you will begin to work with the children, the inner child of adults. And animals. So it's not really a supposed to, it's that sometimes you've done it and that's the mastery and now it's time to do something different for a while. You may return, is what they're saying. What do I need to know that can best serve me in my current life? Okay, I'm going to pull some cards on that. Give me a second. If you knew the power of the angelics who walked beside you, if you understood their power, the power of Gabrielle, the power of Michael, the power of Uriel. If you knew the power of those who walk beside you on the path you have chosen, fear would be impossible. Don't worry about if anyone sides with you coming up in a family matter this December. Your grace is always within you. You don't need them to side with you. As long as you avoid guidance of grace or forget it, even for a moment in any way, you will want to be weak. You will want to feel vulnerable. And that is the defense mechanism, and that is what leads off the path. But as you head into next year, stand in the radiance of the Christ consciousness, remember your worth, and remember the power of all the ancestors who walk beside you. And then fear will not be as present. Hold on. Yes, Emmy. Hold on, what? Oh, at 2? I didn't even know we had a roller skating rink in town, but yeah. Where are you right now? Yeah, I think so.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I gotta go. See you soon. Love you too. Sorry, it was a kiddo. Okay. Stacy, I think we answered. Being off the path is careful. Like watch that as you head into the solstice is the final thing that they're saying. Let's see who is next. Deb H. Am I coming out of or currently in dark night of the soul? You know that answer is yes, but you are. They're showing me the wall and you sitting off of it and dangling your feet. And it's like sometimes you can decide to stay there a little bit longer to get a little bit more help, to get a little bit more understanding, to get a little bit more rest, to get a little bit more peace. There's reasons why sometimes we stay in pain, but it's time to make the leap, is what I'm hearing. Don't avoid your own wisdom or the wisdom of the ancestors right now. It's time to come out of it. Let's see. Amanda, I did not see any specific messages, but I will continue to look through chat. And thank you for the super chat. Let's see. Okay. As the dormant aspects of you are bringing their wisdom out, as we go through the solstice, you will not trust their revelation. You're not trusting all the revelations that you've been receiving are accurate, true, and full of grace. They're just scary because they involve life change that you have been on the precipice of moving into and out of for 11 years specifically. Just because something is difficult doesn't mean it isn't true. Please mind the revelations that the dormant aspects of you are giving. Please take heed to their wisdom and make sacred actions for change now. Matter not that it is a holiday. Worry not about what someone say about that. Now is your time. Natalia, thank you for the super chat. To think like God would is to become certain of who you are in the way that God is certain of who you are. Go into sanctuary, into a sacred reverence now. Take some time because you are upon the precipice of a powerful creation. Many things have stopped you from this powerful creation, and now you must create like Source. And to create like Source is to share the perfect love that Source shares with you, as you, through you. Okay, next one, Amanda P. Poitras, I think. Thank you for the super chat. She says, how can I be most effective in my work with Indigenous youth? We're going to do like a Karma Dharma one on that one, okay? The council says, remember, don't attempt to please them so much or to get validation from them. The task is not for you to seek their love. In this new beginning, you are working through a submerged consciousness that has been held back. The synergy of the indigenous people in this unique tribe has been submerged for over 200 years. It is time for you to bring them back into synergy with this land, even when they don't want to be in synergy with these lands. And that is an arduous task at times. Call upon the ancients, they are with you. Ask that you be given practical guidance to show this youth what divine love is from Earth itself. And trust in the visions that are coming to you, that have been coming to you. Trust in how you personally choose to make those visions practical. And do not wait, do not halt, do not wait on others' approval in this matter. Okay, Carolyn Valpone, thank you for the super chat. Let's see what they have to say. Focus your full attention on the Divine Feminine right now. Focus your full attention as Divine Mother helps you manifest. Focus your full attention on what love means now. You know how we said earlier that manifesting love wasn't a great time for most people? This message is opposite for you, because you are manifesting through the hands of Divine Mother right now. Something powerful is happening. Ellie says, can guides provide clarification on my wisdom with my mother situation? Yeah, they said you hold back your wisdom. And your wisdom often says, don't speak something that you need to speak in your truth because of the repercussions that it will have. Yeah. Well, those repercussions are her, those actions are hers. How she acts is her responsibility. True? True? Right? Emily, the council says you are worried about deception, either deceiving yourself, fooling yourself, or being deceived and fooled by others, however it lands for you. Here is your invocation. God is with me, and God cannot be deceived. I am in synergy with Earth itself, even when my body doesn't feel it, even when in the deep core of my womb I do not feel it, even when communion seems far from me. I am in synergy, and Earth returns me to her roots and holds me in the womb of Divine Mother for healing and trust in my own powerful capacity. That is your mantra. Christine, how soon can I leave my current living situation and become financially in a good place to create that? No one knows that but you. But what the council is saying, that the solstice is a time of rest. It is a time of rest. And they said, in quietness, in solitude, in peace, all of my questions about the when will be answered in the moment that it is time for me to take the sacred action, even if I do not feel the financial support to resolve or do so. Every fear and every problem will be quietly resolved. Okay. I'm hearing we're going to have to get through and get into next year before this is a big time for you, but we're going to have to get into the new year before we can feel like supported in that way. Okay, Mad Hatter. Why is it so hard to step into the business for me? I want it for so long and I'm giving up little by little. What is the business? Tell me more. I'm going to pull a Karma Dharma spread while you're talking. Like, is this a business that you're working on? Is that what you mean? Okay, the council said you don't trust your strength, and you've also been deceiving yourself about how much strength is required for this business. And you've been telling yourself that it requires levels of strength that you don't currently have. You have been denying your spiritual vision quest and veiled from your vision quest because you're worried that you don't have the strength, and you've been putting this business, whatever the business is for you, whatever that means, way over here on the side and kind of separating it from your vision quest, and therefore veiling your own soul from yourself. And that's why you don't feel strong. Hopefully that makes sense. This business will offer some freedom, some financial freedom, some transformation. Your strength will return, but you don't need to refuse to trust your own mental strength in this as well. It's like that is the holdback, is the lack of faith. I invoke the grace of faith to remember my true fortitude. Because I am a child of God, I am capable because God is capable, and I am fed from the grace of Spirit itself continually. That is your invocation from the Andromedan Council. Right. Okay. All right. Will I be able to buy a home for myself? Let's see what they have to say, and I'll pull a card as well. If you don't wait, right? There was a lot to purify. We get the water chalice card kind of turned upside down, meaning in the past this was difficult, but now is a really, really good time, even though it doesn't make sense. If you wait, then the scars of the past will come back and rear their ugly head again. So now is the time. December, January is the time. And if you wait, then the scars will prevent it, and then you'll be waiting another several months. So take this opportunity, even if it doesn't make sense. Christina would love insight in what I need to know to expand my spiritual connection and direction going into the new year. Here's your invocation. My mind serves Spirit. My mind is unlimited, eternally, in all ways. I am not bound by the laws of time, now or ever. I am unbound by any preconceptions, and I have the strength and power to do what Spirit asks of me. That is the invocation you're going to need, because right now there's fear. Right now, you're holding back your own creative expression, and you will be served with greater peace as you go into the new year if you follow the invocation that the council gave. All right. Okay, we're going to close out. Please don't forget, if you didn't get a chance to get a reading, if you want one, we have massive, massive discounts that are going to be put up on the website starting by Monday. And keep your eye on the website. We hope to have those discounts up by Monday. If you need a reading and you want to spend some time with me, we have this new thing coming, 10-minute readings. We've had them there for a long time, but now we have discounts off of them, and now we've made them to where all of them can be recorded. You don't have to show up. You just drop in a picture, put in your questions. I'm super fast typically, unless your question pulls from a bunch of karma and needs more time, right? Tina wants an invocation. Please, no more super chats if you don't mind. I just really have to close and go tend to my family for a bit. Here's your invocation, Tina. I move all of my strengths and talents into one direction and one goal. This direction is freedom, and the goal is enlightenment. That is your invocation. Yep. All right. Ash, I will pull cards because you super chatted before I said a chance not to do super chats anymore. So I'll go ahead and honor that before I close. In the past, you would hold back your expression due to fears of loss. Now you are no longer afraid of honoring your expression, even if you feel loss, because if something was meant to go, it was meant to go, no matter how long the friendship has been. That is the direction for this solstice for you. Okay. Thank you, guys. I will see you probably on Wednesday. That's my goal, to come back around this same time Wednesday. So make sure you got those notifications on. And I love you so much. I'm grateful for you coming here with me a couple times a week to sit in these energies and to be with the council. Thank you so much. We are, for the theme for this month is honoring the solstice. So if you notice, everything has been about the portals that are happening as we move into the solstice, and the councils have been talking about what those portals bring to us and what we're all working through. Okay, so keep your mind on that. On my Patreon channel, the theme is heart, the alchemy of the heart, the alchemy of the root chakra, the alchemy of the throat. Everything is Christ conscious alchemy. So we're going with this theme of Christ conscious alchemy as we go honor the season there. Yeah. I'll see you soon. Have a beautiful solstice. I'll be back to you on Wednesday. Bye-bye.